Hey guys, welcome back to Collective Perspective. It's episode 82. Today we're talking about games that have crashed 50% or more over the last few years. And so the deadline that we're going with here is kind of just the COVID era, January 2020 onward. Is what we're doing here. So there's a lot of games that went through the moon and a lot of games that came back down. Then you got games like Pokemon and Pokemon and also Pokemon that are still climbing, if you can believe it. We're going to talk about some good things, some negative prices, because we're not investors here and we want things to crash.
So we could buy them.
Craig, you are up first. I've already spoiled it on the screen. Why don't you talk about your
Ugh,
first game here?
how dare you? First game, Armored Core on PS1. Its peak value was in January 2023. It was $223.45. Its current value, $110. The change was 50.77% decrease. All of these I tried to also look at the reasons why they may have peaked or anything and the reason why they might have dropped. This one, most likely because Armored Core 6 came out the same year in 2023. People are excited for a new Armored Core game, and the reason for the drop in price is because it was a fad game. People were buying it just because Armored Core was the hotness. So people picked up their copies. People sold their copies for inflated prices, and now it's kind of it didn't adjust back to where it was before, but it's definitely closer to its original price before that initial jump.
I think it's a great first choice because this is a super collectible game. I mean, it's the start of a really big franchise. Like, there's a lot of games, a lot
Yeah,
more
it's a
than
hardcore franchise, right?
yeah.
Hardcore fan base, everything like that.
They're all FromSoft, right?
As far as I know.
So I think it's totally worth collecting. What you should know is you can go to game-rave.com and see this, but essentially there is a publisher variant for this first game, and you can see on the picture here that it is a Sony published game. Later it gets published by ASCII. You don't want that trash, that later print garbage. That's
First
what I
print
have. I have a
or
loose copy of the ASCII print of this game.
you should be ashamed. And I
um,
did just fact checked, so you know. This was also FromSoft. FromSoft did make all of them.
this is a super cool one. I had no idea it had dropped 50%.
You know, a lot of people talk about pricey Atlas games, from back in the day. I feel like people don't talk about pricey FromSoft games. I feel like that's kind of a thing too. This King's Field stuff like that. They got a lot of heavy hitters from this kind of era as well that people don't usually talk about.
I wonder what. I wonder if they had like a regular publisher, like a person that published their games. Usually,
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. Research for another day.
let's talk about Mega Man 4 on the Game Boy. I thought this one had a bigger price percent change, but it's still several $100s. So Mega Man 4 and 5 on the Game Boy they've always been up there. They are incredibly hard to find, incredibly expensive. Just I don't know. They're not ports of the NES games. They are their own exclusive Game Boy titles. And they're just really freaking cool to own. They have their own individual box arts different from the NES that looks super good, and it's just freaking Mega Man. So obviously everybody wants it. I could not even begin to tell you why this game was $1,300 or why this game is now $680, whereas it was previously $1,200. It peaked back in June of 2022. That was just some random spike you can see. Not random, but I mean it was going up and down a lot. It sells once per month, which is not like insanely rare, but it's also kind of common. For a game of this magnitude, I feel like.
Yeah, for a Game Boy game, CIB.
These definitely came to NSO in the last couple of years, Mega Man 4 and 5, but there's no way that had a single effect on the CIB price. So I don't know what's
No,
going on here.
definitely not. It's this one's definitely a mystery. I don't know. Maybe for a while we were just getting really crispy copies posted on eBay. and now they've all started to degrade.
Yeah, maybe. Let's move it on.
All right, next one up for me, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door on the Nintendo GameCube. A GameCube essential. People love this game. Always have, always will. It peaked in July of 2020. This was during the big GameCube and game collecting kind of super craze. This it was 137.71, and now it has dropped 63.61% to 50.11. So I feel bad for all the people that bought it when it was over double the price that you can get it for now. The reason why it dropped, the Switch remake. If you look up correlations, the Switch remake definitely did a number on this bad boy. People just either, it's not that they started selling off their copies, but they stopped being willing to pay this much money because the game was more accessible.
Yep, we see it all the time. Fun fact, I heard on the Generations Behind podcast that this is the most underrated of all the Mario RPGs. So
you're right. It's my favorite.
It's Craig's favorite.
Number one.
$50, still a lot of money for a game you can just go get on Switch.
But it's the original version, so it's cooler.
Absolutely. I think mine is Player's Choice, but it was free.
Can't complain about free.
Let's talk about a modern game, Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan. I got this game on Xbox. I was really excited to kind of play it locally co-op, and then I found out there was no local co-op. So I hate this game. It's a piece of trash, but let's talk about it anyway.
Thanks, Platinum.
I don't know what they were thinking. You can play this online. I don't know if it's even 4-player online. It probably is. I could not tell you much about the gameplay. I was not a fan of it. I stopped playing it pretty quick, but correct me if I'm wrong here, Craig. I think this game had a weird spike because it was getting delisted.
Yes. And then I think people realized that it's not a good game, so they didn't care anymore.
I'm thinking the spike isn't even very visible on this graph, because that's just
notice how it's an Activision game. Whenever you have a delisted licensed game, it's always Activision. They don't want to pay their licenses.
I don't think this is worth $70, which is what its peak was back in April of 2021. I don't think it's worth $35. There's nothing collectible about this particular game. I don't know.
This game was a disappointment for most people.
It's interesting that they went with the darker routes. You know, this is kind of before Nickelodeon took over and started getting all kid-friendly, like... I don't know. I guess Ninja Turtles have always been pretty kid-friendly, but this kind of like looks more like their older comic book appearance on the cover, which is neat. And it's delisted. If there's anything collectible about it, it is that you can only play it on a physical disc nowadays, so that's cool. But it's down 50%. If
its peak value $69.95, its graded price now $69.30. So you can get yourself a whole graded copy. Same price you could get it in 2021. That's pretty great.
Box only price $24.
Who the hell is buying just the box for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan?
You gotta love.
If you're out there, you can be the first guest on Collective Perspective. We need to pick your brain.
What was going on?
That's wild. Alright, next up we got Dokapon Kingdom on the Nintendo Wii. This game had a peak value of $221.58 in December of 2021. Current value $52.90, dropped 76.13%. This one, peak value was a very popular Wii game. Amongst YouTubers, collectors. It was always known as being like a cool, weird, quirky, unique game published by Atlas for the Wii. Always made it maintain some sort of value. And then, poof, the Switch remaster came out, and nobody cared about the Wii version anymore.
Because games are meant to be played, dadgummit.
That's what they're saying in the streets.
I just gotta point out, totally off topic, that they just have graded price. It's not like, oh, this is the 9.88 plus. It's just like, whether it's a 1.0 or a 10.0, it's $720.
Good old price charting, baby. All reliable.
76 is insane. I know that there's a disc variant that we all know about, a colorless disc variant of this game. I know that
we all know about. Pretty presumptuous. of you to think that everyone listening is that big of a nerd.
That's why I started
That they
explaining it. Didn't GameStop have some weird situation with this game?
You're thinking of Xenoblade Chronicles,
I felt like there was
where
something else.
they had maybe for this, but the famous Wii GameStop one is Xenoblade Chronicles. They opened up a bunch of copies so they could sell them used for more than the original new price.
Everything GameStop does is so funny to me. They just bought a bunch of
God.
Bitcoin for like a couple $1 million or something. This company is so
What are they
funny.
doing? What are they doing over there?
They're fighting bankruptcy at every point.
I guess.
Dokapon Kingdom might have had something happen at GameStop. I could not tell you. It might have been a GameStop exclusive. That might be what it is. Let's talk about the most important game on this list. It is Pugsy on the Sega CD.
All-time classic.
Very important, very historically important game that everyone loves. Published by...
Came packed in with every JVC XI.
I gotta zoom in. I can't even tell who published
There
that
you go.
game. It doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? This is a staple in every Sega collector's library. Why are you laughing? What's so funny?
Pugsy, also released on the Genesis. It's a peak value at $66.72. But I have a deal for you because today you can go on eBay and get this for a whopping $37. It dropped 45%. What are you
Crazy.
waiting for? Go get it
For
on
the
Genesis
most important
too.
most important game ever released on a Sega system. Forget your Panzer Dragoon sagas. Forget your Magic Knight Rayard. Forget your Crusader Ascenties. Forget your Mushas. Pugsy is here to save you. Pugsy is love. Pugsy is life.
Pugsy is here. I couldn't tell you what that mascot is supposed to be, but it's Pugsy. 2 G's.
It's Pugsy, baby.
Um,
Pugsy is the goat.
That's it. We're on to the next one.
Next one, Persona 4 Golden. Obviously, big fan of this game, so I wanted to include it.
It's no Pugsy.
It came out.
It's no Pugsy, but it's a good
It's no
game.
Pugsy, it goes Pugsy, Mother 3, Gravity Rush, Persona 4, if I had to do a top 4 of all time. But Persona 4 Golden, peak value, $83.24 of April 2021. The current value, $28.50, so it dropped 65.76%. Reason for the peak, if memory serves correctly, this was when we thought all the games were going to get delisted off of the digital Vita and PS3 store. When they said that Sony said they were going to shut those digital storefronts down, so people were panic buying PS3 and Vita games. So a lot of those games had big jumps for a while and came back down. But between that closure no longer happening and Persona 4 Golden now being ported on every system under the sun, it's lost a lot of its value just because it was known as the Vita game for many, many years, but now it's available on everything. So
You love to see it as a player.
one day Atlas was like, wait, we could make money, and then they put it out on everything.
I'm assuming the second real blip there is just a COVID spike.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, good stuff. You just had to fit in some Vita there, huh? Into this episode.
I couldn't let you go 1 month of collector's perspective without a little bit of Vita.
I think we need to have a whole episode on Xbox 360 now that everything's cooled off. I had talked.
Yeah, it'd be good to go over some of that.
This is the biggest one, at least in my mind, because I had never heard of this game, and I still can't imagine it being good enough to ever warrant its peak value of $98.73. But this game really shot up there. You can look at the graph, and there's every 360 game that matters. No, let me rephrase that. Any 360 game that doesn't matter that was getting delisted had the same spike and is probably crashing just like this one now. It was May of 2024, and now here we are in June of 2025. It's dropped 60%. You can get this game for $40 all day. It's also on PS3. It's also on Wii, but the Wii one never went up in value. Apparently a good game. It's published by Konami. I don't know. Not worth collecting.
Metal Jesus approved in recommended, so I'm sure that's also part of it.
Who?
Metal Jesus approved and recommended.
That'll do it. That's all I got for Tornado Outbreak.
Shout out to you, Jason.
Is that his name?
I don't know why. I think so. I don't know. I feel like it is. Anyway, Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. This one is not 50%, but I didn't care because I still thought it was a pretty interesting rise and fall for a game. The peak value is July 2023, 454.37. Current value 253.45, so down 44.22%. This is another one where, on the last episode we were talking about CIB, you wouldn't think it'd be affected by re-releases and remasters, but here's a pretty significant one. This correlates pretty closely to the announcement and let's see, what did I write down? Yeah, it spiked actually because when the remake was announced, and then once the remake came out is when it started to go down in price. So people were kind of cashing in on the hype for that, and then they stopped caring, as tourists do. So
I bought this game loose in like 2021, so it was really expensive then. I mean, we have the loose one listed there. It doesn't look like much compared to the CIB, but this game,
still a decent amount.
This game is currently $60. I paid like 95 loose.
Holy cow!
So I took an L on a loose cartridge.
Your whole collection is in shambles. How you ever financially recover?
I saw this great tweet today. This guy replied to my tweet. He said, for every 300 garbage games I have that have like plummeted in value, I have one game that has like increased in value. And he was talking about his KO Flying Squadron on Sega CD, one of the rarest, most expensive games. And I was like, man, I feel that so good. Like, that is so accurate.
That's funny.
My final one just got ported, I think. I think the way to pronounce it is Suikoden?
I would just say Suikoden.
That's what I say. Suikoden 2 on the PlayStation went all the way up to $400 almost in April of 2021.
Insane.
$182 right now. This got ported, right?
Yes, it is now on modern consoles in the collection.
So I would say don't even buy it yet. It's 53% down now. It's probably going way further down because people like playing their games for some reason. So
yeah, I know it's so funny how probably 9 out of 10 people that play video games just forget that emulators exist. And they now work on iPhones.
Myself included. Like, I don't know why I feel the need to play everything on hardware.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, most of the stuff I play is through an emulator if it's not on a modern console. So,
yeah.
Like, yes, is it cool to play an NES game on a CRT? Of course, but do I care if I'm playing it with touch controls on my iPhone? Also, no, I'm still playing the game.
I'm literally playing Metroid on NSO right now. I have it on, NES, but here I am. That's it. Don't go buy Suikoden or Suikoden yet. Just wait a little bit longer, and you can get a beautiful black label CIB copy, probably for closer to $100. I'm gonna say it's gonna drop real far.
I think it's gonna keep going down. Yeah, I could see this one, and it's funny because for a long time this was considered like one of the most expensive PS1 games. I don't even know if it's like top 10 or top 15 anymore.
Let's do a quick recap here. We got Armored Core down 50%. We got Mega Man 4 44%. Paper Mario 1000 Year Door 63%. Mutants in Manhattan 50%. Dokapon Kingdom 76%. I need to buy that. Pugsy, I almost forgot the name of that iconic Sega title.
The goated Pugsy.
45%. We got Persona 4 Golden, 65% on the Vita. Tornado Outbreak, a casual 60%. Mario RPG, 44%. And Suikoden 2, 54%.
So the biggest loser is Dokapon Kingdom.
Crazy. 76%. Crazy what a port can do.
Insane. I know. Totally plummeted game that was famously expensive for many years. If you look at that graph, since mid-2016, it was above $100. So, for almost 10 years, it was a triple-digit game.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's crazy.
I can speak for the Dokapon on Switch. It's excellent. You can play online with friends for the first time ever. I think it's also on Steam if you're a normal person that doesn't need to play on console. Great game. They did a great job.
If you're a normal person is a great amendum to that.
But yeah, honestly, I don't think we know which variant of Dokapon Kingdom is the OG on the Wii. There's a colored disc and a colorless disc, and like your go-to brain thought is that the colored one costs more, so they did that one first, and the black and white is going to be the cheaper later print, but I don't know if that's true.
I have no idea, honestly. You could assume the full color disc, but I don't know, because I know like there's some other random ones, like Carnival Games has something like that. I think even Mario Galaxy might, like, just like random games that, like, as their life went on, their discs just were, they decided to use less ink. So you could assume that the less ink probably the more recent the pressing, but who knows for sure.
There's probably a code on the disc that'll tell you the truth.
I ain't looking at disc codes. I don't got that kind of time.
Speaking of time, I've taken far too much of Craig's. Guys, thank you so much for watching tonight. And the other episode that was so much longer. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your June. And,
hope you got a Switch 2.
Oh yeah, Switch 2 coming out 2 days from now.
You guys will find out next month if I was able to get mine. I don't have a pre-order, so we'll see.
We'll see you next time. Go subscribe to Craig's Game Room on YouTube, and we'll see you later.
Take care, y'all.